Hi, it's Dr. Gregory Morris, a podiatrist at the Queens Medical Center here in Honolulu, and also a co-founder of the Ultimate Foot Store. I'm here today on Talking Feet to discuss a very common foot problem called sesamoiditis, or fractures of our sesamoid bone. So what happens is, up in the ball of the foot, here's a model of your foot. Behind our toe, our big toe, under the big toe, we have these two little bones called sesamoid bones. And they're at the bottom of our first metatarsal bone, right in the ball of the foot. And we're playing sports, or walking or standing or running, we put pressure and those little sesamoid bones slide back and forth. They're kind of like our kneecap. They are embedded in the tendons to our big toe and they slide back and forth. What happens is sometimes we injure them, either just repetitively, if you're playing a lot of sports, especially on the ball of the foot, such as tennis or basketball, or on the ball of the foot and you're putting a lot of pressure on those little sesamoid bones. But also, people just running or stepping funny, you can land on the sesamoid bones and injure them. And people also, if they're wearing heels or wedges and you have to chase after a car or something like that too, you're chasing and that sesamoid bone basically hits against the ground. These two little bones are very prominent on the ball of the foot, and those sesamoid bones get bruised. And so those bones become bruised and get painful. We call it sesamoiditis. If you continue to injure those bones, they can actually develop a little stress fracture of the sesamoid bone, or fracture completely and you get a fracture of the sesamoid bone. Very difficult to heal those little bones because they're very small. They have very poor blood supply. Plus, they're embedded in the tendon and they're on the bottom of the foot. So every time you walk or stand, you're putting pressure on them. Anytime you bend the big toe and push off, they get aggravated and pulled. So very commonly when you aggravate a sesamoid bone and get sesamoiditis, or even fracture or get a stress fracture of sesamoid bone, it may take weeks or months for that sesamoid bone to calm down. But typically you're nice to it, it will calm down. It's just very difficult to be nice to our feet. So the first step is wearing a good pair of shoes. And so any kind of shoe that, like a tennis shoe, walking shoe, running shoe, has a little more cushioning, a little more support. Once again, those little sesamoid bones, they get pain when they bend back and forth when you're putting pressure there. So two things you want to accomplish by wearing a good shoe is that when you're wearing a shoe, the toes don't bend very much. And especially a very thick-soled running shoe, especially like the Hoka, the shoe doesn't bend very much. When you walk and stand, the toes don't bend very much. And the Hoka and other shoes also have a little bit of a rocker bottom to it too. So when you walk, you basically roll through that motion and that big toe doesn't bend and that sesamoid bone doesn't get bruised or aggravated. So wearing a good thick pair of shoes, preferably something that has a little bit of cushioning, even a small little rocker to the shoe, that really helps take pressure off the sesamoid bone and also all the metatarsal bones in the ball of the foot. Now with a good shoe, I love Hokas, but no matter how good a shoe is, they come with this cheap little liner that doesn't do much inside of our shoe. So the best thing if your foot hurts, and especially if you have sesamoiditis or like metatarsalgia, is wearing some kind of arch support. At the Ultimate Foot Store, we have nice arch supports. So at the Ultimate Foot Store, we have excellent arch supports for under $50. And it happens that they have nice, good cushioning, nice support, much, much better than what comes in our shoe naturally. This is a flimsy little cardboard piece of paper, basically. So we like to put a nice arch support in there. And you don't need to spend a lot of money. For under $50, you can buy a nice arch support that has good cushioning, good support, and it basically just slides into the shoe. You just slide it in. Typically, you take the liner that comes with the shoe, you take that one out, and you slide that Ultimate Foot Store arch support inside the shoe. We also have arch supports that we call a metatarsal pad. It's an additional little pad right here on the arch support that takes more pressure off the sesamoid bone and also the metatarsal bones too. So that's a nice thing at the store. You can come in there, you can step on our computer, but also you can try different arch supports. You can try one with the metatarsal pad, you can try one without the pad, and see what basically takes pressure off that sesamoid bone and the metatarsal bones which are aggravating the ball of the foot. So that's the first step, wearing a good pair of walking shoes and sticking extra little arch support in the shoe to take pressure off that sesamoid bone and those metatarsal bones. So once again, by putting a nice arch support into the shoe, you're basically putting more pressure in the arch here and taking pressure off the ball of the foot and especially off these little aggravated sesamoid bones. Once again, here in Hawaii, we don't wear shoes all the time. So when we're not wearing shoes, best to wear a pair of slippers or sandals that have a lot of cushioning, a lot of support. Much like the Hoka shoes, our Ultimate Foot Store relief sandals and slippers have good cushioning, good support, also a little bit of rocker to it. So when you walk and stand, you're taking pressure off the ball of the foot, putting more pressure in the arch right here, and then cushioning those sesamoid bones in the ball of the foot. So once again, we want to support and cushion these little bones up here. So wearing an Ultimate Foot Store slipper, especially in the house. because here in Hawaii, we all go barefoot, especially in the house, and most of the hard floors. So if you have hard floors in the house, hardwood floors or tile or slate, buy a pair of Ultimate Foot Store slippers or any kind of slippers, sandals, a lot bit of cushioning and support. Makes a huge difference. Patting those little bones all the time and decreasing that pressure on those little sesamoid bones of the ball of the foot really will speed up your recovery. The third thing is, well, avoid activities or sports which put pressure on the ball of the foot. So, any kind of activity where you're running on the ball of the foot, doing jumping, doing lunges on the ball of the foot, puts a lot of stress on those sesamoid bones. So, once again, avoiding activities and sports, even walking quickly, which is tough because we're always in a hurry and we're walking quickly, which puts a lot of stress on that sesamoid bone. So, slow it down a little bit, try and walk a little bit slower, more flat-footed, wear a good pair of shoes or slippers or sandals, even in the house, and then give it time. Taking anti-inflammatories, Motrin, Advil, ibuprofen also helps speed up the process. Trying different things. You can try ice or heat. If I've been on my foot for a while and my sesamoid bone or ball of the foot is a little sore, I'd ice it down for 10 or 15 minutes. But then also it's a chronic problem. So then soaking in some warm water, just warm water with like salt in the water, table salt, Hawaiian salt, for 10, 15 minutes also can help stimulate blood flow. If people continue to be painful, then oftentimes I put into a walking boot. And so a walking boot is a big, stiff boot. Once again, protects the foot, decreases that motion across the ball of the foot. So if people aren't getting better off and put them into a walking boot. If they are still painful, then sometimes they get a cortisone injection to help calm down the inflammation around those sesamoid bones. And in worst cases, then actually remove that little sesamoid bone. If it's chronically painful and inflamed, or if it's fractured and stays painful, I remove those sesamoid bones. Oftentimes the sesamoid bone does fracture and just fills in with scar tissue and doesn't become painful. So just because you have a sesamoid fracture doesn't mean it needs to be removed. If there's no pain in the sesamoid fracture, we just leave it alone. So once again, to sum up about sesamoiditis or sesamoid fractures, the sesamoid bone is a small little bone under our big toe joint. These two little prominent bones, very common to get aggravated playing sports or running or being on their foot too much. And when they're aggravated, it's take a long time to calm down because they have very poor blood supply and they're on the bottom of your foot and within that joint complex. So the more ways you treat it, wearing a good supportive shoe, wearing a nice supportive arch support, take the pressure off the ball of the foot, wearing a good pair of slippers or sandals, especially in the house, that's the best way to take care of it. If it continues to be painful, then usually give a little cortisone injection or put you into a boot, or worst case, do surgery. So once again, it's Dr. Gregory Morris from the Ultimate Foot Store talking about sesamoiditis and sesamoid fractures. Stay tuned for another episode in the near future about Morton's neuroma, another very common pain in the ball of the foot caused by a little pinched nerve, much like carpal tunnel syndrome. So thank you once again from the Ultimate Foot Store.